Thanks for tuning in to Men for the Win, a podcast hosted by David Kufis and Dan Thompson, two avid fans who appreciate well-played baseball, especially when it's done by the Twins. Men for the Win is sponsored by the Grand Group with Edina Realty. Are you looking to purchase a new home in the Twin Cities area? Or perhaps you're trying to sell your current home? Whether you're upsizing or downsizing, the Grand Group with Edina Realty will meet all of your housing needs. Contact the Grand Group by emailing thegrand, G-R-A-N, group at edinarealty.com or call them by phone at 612-817-8751. The Grand Group with Edina Realty, 7-time Minneapolis St. Paul Magazine Super Agent Award winners. Men for the Win is part of the Pulltab Sports Network, covering sports, culture, and entertainment across the Midwest. Check them out at pulltabsports.com and give them a follow on all your social media platforms at Pulltab Sports. On this episode, David and Dan recap the Twins' 3-game series against the Cincinnati Reds. Thanks for listening. Enjoy. Thanks for tuning in to Men for the Win. My name is David Kufis. With me, as always, is Dan Thompson. The Twins only take 1 of 3 or 1 of 2 and 6 innings, depending how you have to count it as
a game, David. It's a game in MLB's history books, so we have to call it that.
Yes, we will get into the regulations regarding complete games and incomplete games and all that, Dan. But I noticed, Dan, you are once again recording in a new location. How is that even possible?
I move my equipment with me, David. I'm like a turtle with my shell. Right? Like I just, no matter where I go, I bring it. So a while ago, I accumulated a list of places that we've recorded. So I'm going to start with my list here. I'll just run through this as quick as I can. So I've recorded in these places: my home, my in-laws' home, Sandpoint, Idaho, in 3 different places: a closet, a bedroom, and another bedroom; a house on Cannon Beach in Oregon; a basement in Portland when the owners weren't even there; the in-home recording studio in Vancouver, Washington, where I am right now, using, again, my own equipment instead of the professional equipment behind me; an Airbnb rental in southern Utah; a hotel in Boise; Okoboji, Iowa; Grinnell, Iowa, in an attic with my microphone turned backwards. Didn't realize that till Hogs and I had recorded. Lake Andrew, Minnesota. Some listeners may know that. Your house, actually, David, right next to you.
Yeah.
A friend's home in South Minneapolis, which I will be in a few weeks again. On a phone call in Bend, Oregon. That was season 1, where I was watching my children float by me, and I'm standing on the shore like, hey, I'm on a phone call. Doing a podcast. And then a hotel in Clarkston, Washington, with some colleagues from work. So,
wow.
I just want you to... Oh, and then your list, David. Let me turn the page. Let's see. There's your upstairs, and then your downstairs. And that's your list right there, David.
Dan, okay. When I am off the show, or if I'm away from home, I don't want to have anything to do with moving equipment, trying to sort it out. But I admire your dedication. And the lengths at which you're willing to go to ensure that we can record. So I appreciate it, Dan.
And let's not forget, Well, my wife sees this as an inconvenience on vacations, David, when I have to lug another backpack along to different places because I have to do the recording. And I blame Hogs, right? Hogs is being unavailable right now. It's very inconvenient.
Yeah. On-air production meeting, a little behind the scenes here for the listeners. We have a spreadsheet that lists out the schedule and who's recording when. And at the beginning of the season, I filled in a bunch of dates. This is a very busy time for us. It's my anniversary. It's my kiddo's birthday. And Dan's got travel plans. And so we put in the dates that we're looking for Hogs to fill in. And then Hogs goes in after the fact and fills in all the dates he can't do. And I'm not joking. It's like he went through, picked the dates we'd said that, hey, can you fill in? And said, nope, can't do those days. And it's like, well, what are we doing here, Hogs?
It's not even a Venn diagram. It's just a circle on top of the other circle. Like there's no non-overlapping, it seems. Anyway, we love having Hogs. I hope he's having a great time in Europe. And he brings us back something. Maybe he'll bring me back a hat of an Italian baseball team or something like that. That would be fun.
I doubt it because he's pretty mad that he didn't get a Boston hat. But he did say if he received it, he would have just thrown it away. So it's probably good that you didn't get him one as well.
Anyhow, so the Twins, they're back to 500. We will come back to this idea here a little bit later. But I think we should go ahead and jump into the recap.
Series recap.
Game 1, Dan, this was probably the best baseball game to watch, I guess. Not from even a good baseball, but just like from an exciting baseball perspective. Twins dropped this one 6-5. Festa struggles. He gets through 3 2/3 innings, 2 hits, 2 earned runs, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts, Dan. But bottom of the second, super interesting. Buxton robs a home run from Will Benson. And first of all, he makes it look easy. And everybody on Twitter was commenting on this, just how nonchalantly it looked like Buxton made that catch.
You could ratio me on this. I think that's what my students say. But I don't think it was going to be a home run. I think it was coming down. It was going to bounce off the wall. I don't think he reached over. There's no flip of the wrist back over the wall. You know, like that's not a robbery. I think that's a double.
I think it was going to be a home run. But anyway, regardless, okay.
Sorry.
We'll just say for
Sure.
lack of for the piece of the show, we'll say yes, it could have been either way. It may have been a home run, maybe not. He still Buxton stole a hit. Let's say
I would
that.
agree with
Is
that. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I can
Reasonable.
agree with that. Yeah.
But then what's so interesting about this is the top third, Buxton homers to, I mean, the same spot within maybe like 4 feet. I mean, it was so close. And so it was so fun to be like the foreshadowing, Dan. I thought you'd appreciate the use of foreshadowing here, that Buxton stole the home run, or stole the hit, excuse me.
Thank you. Yep,
and then hit a home run to like the exact same spot.
Well, Hoax was just talking about that, how on the last episode, that it was basically, that's what happens, right? So often you make a great defensive play, and then you do great in the batter's box yourself.
Certainly. So then bottom of the third, there's this lengthy delay where the home plate umpire had taken a ball off the mask, and then he stayed in the game for a little bit, and then he needed to be removed, like he wasn't feeling well. And so there's a really long delay, which I understand that umps need to leave, but it's not like he was like laying on the ground. Like he was off the ground, he was off the field. What are we doing here? But anyway, long delay. Hope the guy's okay.
That man's ever been to medical school.
Well, I'm just saying that he was off the field. What are they
there, David?
What are they waiting for? Not heartless, but he's not like on the field. Like, I'm not saying you should play over bodies if somebody's injured on the ground. But what I'm saying is, if he's already off the field, like in the back, getting help from the trainers or doctors or something, do we really need to stop the play for that much longer?
I think you're just going to put him on your bench like you did when Kyle Farmer got hit in the face with a baseball.
That is my go-to. Anytime a guy gets hit with the ball, I put him on my bench, Dan. But anyway, bottom four is where Festa gets into trouble. He has 2 walks, and then he gives up an RBI double to Benson, and then an RBI single from Fraley. Reds are up 4-1 at this point. Festa then hits McLean. Coulomb enters and gets Friedel to end this disastrous inning. But on top of the runs being scored here, Jeffers takes a ball off of the right hand and he exits before his next at bat. And it looked, Dan,
I don't believe that man's ever been to medical school.
Here's the thing. I play guitar. It's one of the things. I'm not saying like I'm a really good guitar player or anything, but I play guitar for church and for other things. Well, I am somewhat protective of my hands. And so like watching that was very hard to watch because it looked so painful, Dan.
Do you wear gloves to protect your hands? Dude,
no,
David,
not like that. I mean, like I'm just like I'm not using a bandsaw very often, right? Or like I'm not hammering a whole bunch of nails very often. Is all I'm saying.
He ended up being okay. He came back in the next couple games and played a role.
Yes.
But top of the 6th, the Twins rally with a couple outs. So France reaches on a throwing error. Brooks Lee, who we will talk about a lot later, singles, and then Larnach hits an RBI single to score France. So there's runners at the corners, and Bader comes up, hits one to deep right center, and Fraley is tracking it well and leaps up, and the ball goes off of his glove and then goes over the wall. This is like a Jose Canseco moment. And it was not like it was like his glove was on top of the wall and went over. Like there was a good foot or two of distance between. It was almost like he like pushed it badminton style, like over the fence. But I'm sure Fraley felt terrible about this.
So this one, Dan, I'm sure was not going to be a home run. But the one that Buxton robbed, you're sure was not going to be a home run. But the best part about this is after it goes over the wall, the pitcher's reaction is absolutely hilarious.
Great.
But the fan who catches the ball, it was like he handed the ball to the fan. Like it rolled off the glove and he like little push into the fan's hand. And the fan was so like, okay, I guess I have this ball. What do I do with it? I think she was unsure if the ball was still live because of everything that had just transpired, Dan.
But fortunately for the Reds and unfortunately for the Twins, the lead is short-lived. Brock Stewart comes in at the bottom of the 6th, but he struggles after getting a couple outs. Single, double. And then another hit given up to McLean was a middle cut fastball on an 0-2 count. And so the Reds took the lead back 6-5. Nothing more happens after that runs-wise. That was really the key moment here in this game. 2 more notes I want to make quick about this game before we move on to game 2. Bottom of the 7th, Benson walks, and then there's this tailor-made double play ball hit to Correa, who shovels it to Castro, and then Castro just holds the ball and like mock throws to first. It should have been a double play. I think Willi forgot how many outs there were. I think he thought that was the 3rd out.
I knew exactly what to do, but in a much more real sense, I had no idea what to do.
It was silly. I mean, it didn't end up hurting him because he made an out on the very next pitch, but it's still like, I've said this a ton of times. Willi Castro's errors are never physical errors. It's not because of a play he makes. It's always a mental error, Dan.
But can you blame the guy? He has to play like 7 positions. He doesn't know which base he's at, let alone which one to throw to.
I can't compete with you physically, and you're no match for my brain.
Yeah.
And top of the 8th, France gets hit by pitch. He's replaced by Kersey Jr., and then Lee strikes out. Kersey's thrown out trying to steal second. Lee had worked a 10-pitch at bat, Dan. and then he
so
swung
frustrating.
at a ball that was 6 inches outside and high, and he was so mad at himself. We're going to talk again more
Even
about
Phil
Lee a little
Cuzzy
bit
wouldn't
later.
have called that one.
No, Phil Cuzzy was on this
God.
game too. I don't think he was behind the plate for this
No,
one.
he
but
was behind the plate for Game 3, and it was terrible. But that's for another ump scorecard down the road.
Okay, well, let's quickly go into Game 2. We should be fast here, Dan, because it's not a full game.
Yeah, exactly.
The Reds win this one 4-6. I went in last night after the game, and I'm going to put in my notes for the show, and all I see under Game 2, I see that Dan was in the sheet, and so I'm like, oh, great, he probably put the notes, and I wanted to do anything. All you wrote, Dan, is baseball is stupid.
That's what I wrote. I'm not proud of it. It's not an elegant sentence. I was just annoyed because of the way that the baseball game went, and I was, that they lost and all this. I was very upset. But they do. They lose this one 4-2. Bailey Ober labored, if ever there's a use of that word.
Where did all these unsupervised children come from?
He pitches the whole game here, actually, 5 2/3, but 9 hits, 4 earned runs, 5 Ks, 1 home run. He would have finished that inning, but you could tell he was mad, and I think he had the sense that the rain was coming and it wasn't going to stop.
I wonder, as his children, Dan, the face that he has on the mound just looks so unimpressed with everything that's happening. And so, how many times a day, Dan, when you're with your children, do they say, Dad, look at this. Dad, look at this. Daddy, look at this. That can't be the face that he has when he's around his children, right? When they're like, Daddy, look at this. And he just has this.
No, this is the face that he probably, when he gets home from a long road trip and the house is a total mess, that's the look that he dangerously gives his wife and gets into a lot of trouble after that, I'm sure. Like,
We
what
need
you been
a sounder,
doing,
Dan,
honey?
a wife sounder of some sort. I don't know what it should be, but it should definitely exist on the show for how often we talk about our wives. But
man.
Anyway, first pitch of the game. This is exciting. Buxton goes deep to left center, so the Twins are up 1-0. That's kind of the end of the excitement, I guess, for the Twins. Bottom of the first, the Reds answer on a Spencer Steer, former Twins prospect, by the way. 2-run homer, so Reds are up 2-1. Bottom of the second, Reds string together a couple more hits, so they're up 3-1. Bottom of the third, Spencer Steer again, Dan, with a double, and then he scores on a Will Benson RBI single. Reds are up 4-1. Top of the fourth, the Twins get one back on singles from Castro and Lee, and then an RBI ground out from Trevor Larnach. So Twins are down 4-2. Everything's quiet after this stand, and then the rain picks up in the bottom of the sixth, and the game is called complete. Just so people understand what this means is that once the visiting team has made 15 outs or 5 innings and the home team is leading, or when the home team has made 15 outs regardless of the score, that's considered a complete game. So this was a little bit funky during COVID, but the long and short of it is if they get in 5 innings and the home team is ahead, that's all she wrote. Like, they can call the game at any time, which is really frustrating to me in this instance because, Dan, this one didn't feel like it was Ober. Yeah, this
I see what you did there. Hold on, I got to play the sounder. Oh, man, you didn't even intend it.
It's like a pun. It's a play on words.
It didn't feel like it was Ober. I felt like the Twins still had a chance in this one, Dan.
But, okay, how many times, though, has weather impacted this team?
Don't forget to bring a towel.
It has been 10 games, 12 games. It just feels like either with a delay or with a rain out. I just think the weather has conspired against the Twins here quite a bit.
I'm not superstitious, but I am a little stitious.
A little stitious, Dan. Well, let's go on to Game 3. The lone bright spot for the Twins in this series. They win 12-5. Chris Paddack is on the mound. I'm curious if you'd consider this a bounce-back start, Dan. He goes 5 innings pitched, but he gives up 6 hits, 4 earned runs, 3 Ks, and a home run. It's hard to say to me that this is a bounce-back.
It didn't feel like this. I was listening to this on my drive over here, actually, and it never felt like this lead was going to be safe for the Twins. And the Reds did threaten a little bit later on, too, but I think some of the key moments here were it was those early innings. So first off, Buxton leads off again with a home run. His 12th leadoff home run of his career, tied for 6th most in team history. Now he's actually tied with Dan Gladden. So that was great, obviously. But then something the Reds did all series was answer the Twins. Atterbury was pointing this out. I think there was only maybe 2 times that the Twins scored in this series that the Reds did not answer. And they answered, sure enough, in the bottom of the first. Spencer Steer stayed hot with a double, and then Stevenson follows him to score on Friedel's double. So the Reds are up 2-1, and you're thinking, gosh darn it. But then top of the second, Jeffers walks. Clemens, who hadn't done much at all in 12 games, I think he was hitless in his last 12 because he barely played, hit a 2-run home run. Twins are up 3-2, and then Buxton follows with another home run, his 4th of the series. And so this point, I was like, okay, maybe they're actually going to hang on and win a baseball game in Cincinnati.
Yeah, 4-2, and you're thinking, well, they're probably going to need to score more runs. And thankfully, Dan, top of the third, Twins continue to do some damage. Castro singles, Correa singles. France RBI double scores Castro, who got a late jump, but he did manage to get home. And then Ryan Jeffers comes up, Dan, with a big 2-run RBI double. Twins are up 7-2 at this point. And at this point, I'm starting to believe. But then bottom of the third, the Reds answer with a 2-run Lux homer. So now the Twins are only up 7-4, and I'm starting to lose faith again, Dan. But again, the Twins innings come to reassure me with adding on in the top of the fourth. Castro walks, Larnach hits an RBI double, and then Correa hits an RBI single. Twins are up 9-4 at this point, and I'm thinking, okay, we should win this baseball game.
Should have felt that way, right? But then again, the Reds threaten, right? In the seventh, they only score one, but they think they had even the tying run in the on-deck circle. But then, again, the Twins added some insurance runs in the eighth on a Ryan Jeffers 2-run home run, and then another run in the top of the ninth on a single by Bader, followed by walks to Larnach, Correa, and Lee. And so the Twins are up 12-5. And then we're going to talk about this later, but Lee did extend his hitting streak with a top six double. 18 games now, longest for the Twins since Brian Dozier had a streak of 24.
That is a long streak, Dan. And Dan, there's a few streaks that I'm not proud of. One of them was on a trip up north to the Boundary Waters. I went a lengthy stretch, Dan, without being able to bathe properly because it was so cold. And we tried the whole heating up water on the stove trick, and nothing worked, Dan. There was no way to get clean. But now I have free access to my showers as much as I want, and when I want to smell great, Dan, I reach for Duke Cannon here, because Duke Cannon makes high-quality grooming products for hardworking men, Minnesota-based, and with an all-new look. Their clear new packaging featuring the Big D is unmistakable on the shelves. Whether you go for a brick of soap, thick body wash, deodorant, hair care, beard care, or cologne, Duke Cannon will have you smelling your best. Look for the Big D at Target, Walmart, Amazon, or DukeCannon.com. Once you try it, you'll be hooked. Work harder, smell better, Duke Cannon.
Catch 'em all, Kirby Puckett!
Puckett's Picks winner.
Very sad, Dan. Very sad. Dan,
oh, man, I know.
You've turned things around greatly here. So you took Larnach, who had 9, gives you the victory. I took Correa, who had 6. Hogs and the listeners, they took France and Lee, respectively. They each scored 2. You don't get the bonus, though, Dan, because Byron Buxton, who we weren't sure if he was going to play. Yeah. Nobody was sure if he was injured after being hit by a pitch last series. Somebody should have picked Byron Buxton because he scored a season-high total, Dan, 21 points this series.
What were we thinking? He is on, we're going to probably talk more about his stats, but he's playing definitely at an all-star level right now. Importantly, though, for this, I still got the win, so I have actually climbed into second. So Hogs has 10.5 points. I know. I have 7, earned the hard way, right? I'm hitting singles here. I haven't gotten the bonus point for picking the team high at all this year. You have 6.5, and the listeners have 3.5. Hogs still leads in total points, 104. You have 69. I have 52. The listeners have 36. But I am feeling pretty good. I've won 3 of the last 5.
Congratulations,
Thank
Dan.
you.
Well, let's keep going here. Beast versus Bench.
Beast versus Bench.
Is losing fun? Is losing fun?
Okay, so I got to give it to Byron Buxton. 5 for 13, 4 RBIs, a stolen home run, in my opinion, I guess.
A stolen extra base hit, probably. Yep.
But he looks fantastic, Dan. He's starting to show up more and more on the national broadcast when people start talking about all-star voting and whatnot. And obviously the Twins are really pushing this. You should be voting 5 times a day for all of your Twins players.
No, but on Atterbury is not even pushing that. He's just saying, if you could just at least please vote for Byron Buxton. Like, he's not saying, vote for Ryan Jeffers, right? He's not saying that.
He's not saying Christian Vasquez is
no,
number
that's
1
not,
on that ballot.
He's not.
Cody Clemens? No?
Nope. And I think there was like an allusion to Royce Lewis. Like, he talked about somebody hitting 150. You don't need to pick for him. Yeah. So,
so who's your beast, Dan?
Well, I actually went with Ryan Jeffers, who sneakily had a pretty good series. He got hit by the pitch, obviously, but then he had 4 hits in this series, and they were especially crucial here in Game 3, where he gets the home run and the other RBI hit. So timely hits, they need him to play better. That's just those mid guys, which I'll get to a little bit later, have not really stepped up. Hopefully this game was the breakout that everybody needed, because they hit a lot of balls hard that were caught too. They were hitting everything on a dime today.
It did seem like a fun day to be playing against the Cincinnati Reds, Dan. So for my bench, I'm going to go a combination here of Game 1 pitchers, David Festa and Brock Stewart, who in Game 1 combined for 4 1/3 innings pitched, 4 earned runs, 5 walks, Dan. And that is just not good enough for an offense that rarely scores 5 runs, Dan. You guys need to do better. And Brock Stewart especially, the way that he gave up hits, yes, a couple of them were like seeing eye singles, but a couple of them were on too good of pitches. And I don't know how many times I have to reiterate the same point. If you're up 0-2 in the count, don't throw a middle pitch. I don't care about your pitch count at that point. You can throw a strike and not be middle. There's a pretty big, it's called the strike zone, Dan. There's a whole zone you can throw in, Dan. It just bothers me when people are like,
beating that dead horse.
They're not trying They're not trying to throw it, on the outside of the zone. Throw it to the outside of the zone. It's 0-2 for crying out loud.
I agree, David. We all agree. We know what you're trying to say.
Not everybody agrees, Dan. That's why I get so upset about this. I'm right.
All right. That's the one guy on the internet who disagrees with you.
There's like 4 people at least on the internet who disagree with me.
So I'm going to go a little bit different here. I'm going to give the bench spot to the front office for trading Spencer Steer and Christian Encarnacion Strand, and apparently left-handed pitcher Steven Hajar, though that hasn't really mattered as much, for Tyler Mahle a few years ago. Because, man, would Spencer Steer look really good playing for the Twins right now? I know that they allegedly had a lot of third basemen, right? But with Jose Miranda mired in AAA, with Royce Lewis on the injured list, they could surely...
the chosen one.
Thank you. They surely could use Spencer Steer right now. And Tyler Mahle's having a great year in Texas after 8 starts for the Twins.
There are just a lot of times, Dan, where the front office was either too early or too late on guys.
Yeah.
And the Spencer Steers trade at the time, I don't know how upset I was about it. I'm sure. But the thing is,
I'm sure the receipts are there. Somebody can go back and listen to the episode. I'm sure we talked about it.
I feel bad because, honestly, we probably don't praise the front office as much as we should, and we probably only remember the times when
we remember the Joe Ryan trade for half a season of Nelson Cruz and a blanket, right? We remember that.
The one trade that we point to is like
sure,
good.
There was more.
Anyway, okay. Well, with that, Dan, let's start talking about Rocco here.
Rocco's Rewind.
Okay, game 1, Dan. Your starter just went 3 2/3. You bring in Danny Coulomb to finish out the 4th inning. He throws 4 pitches, Dan. 4 pitches. You just got through the 4th inning, Rocco. The 4th inning. You're going to have to use up your entire bullpen. You can't send Danny Coulomb out for another inning? What are you thinking here, man?
I'll tell you the truth. I'm a little confused by your tactics.
He's just protecting Danny Coulomb as he ramps back up here, David, I think. But yeah, now it ended up actually not hurting that much because of the rain out in game 2. So maybe Rocco was looking at the radar and thought, oh, well, I'm not going to need all these guys tomorrow anyway. That goes into mine. So it's kind of a question, but is he going to be able to manage Paddack and Ober through what appears to still be a rough patch for both these guys? And to your point about Paddack, this was not a bounce back start for Paddack. Ober has not looked the same. You can read, I think Dan Hayes had some interesting tweets about how Ober adjusted in game 2 after the kind of a rough start and was able to right himself. And I know this is not necessarily just on Rocco because the pitching coaches will handle this too. But how is he going to handle Paddack and Ober going forward? Because he has to balance the fact that these guys have to go 5 or 6 innings really for this pitching staff to be able to hum along with Pablo hurt, with Zebby hurt. So do you have the confidence in Rocco to make those adjustments and to be able to keep those guys on the mound long enough, even if it's sometimes going to mean they're going to get shelled a little bit more than usual?
Yeah, I think so. I think that he has a pretty good handle on his starters who are more seasoned for how long they can go, as opposed to guys like SWR and Festa and Matthews, who he's a little bit quicker to pull the trigger on going to the bullpen. And we've complained about that before, that you're going to have to give these young guys a chance. And I mean, just last episode, we complained about Rocco pulling SWR after 53 pitches after shutting down the Astros lineup. The thing is, with these more seasoned guys, Rocco does seem to be willing to let them work it out on the mound a little bit more. And I think game 2 is a pretty good example. I mean, Ober got his pitch count under control, which helped. But at the same point, I mean, he was at like 85, 86 pitches by the time they were rolled around to the 6th inning. Just the fact that he let him stay out on that mound even when he got into trouble, I think it shows that, yeah, Rocco is going to be able to manage them through these rough patches and let them work out their issues and hopefully get back to the form that we've seen as prior to this rough patch.
All right, let's move on here to some good moments from game 3.
Minnesota moment.
So game 3, top 2, I'm listening to this game and Cody Clemens hitting a home run and then Byron Buxton following it after the Reds had answered in the bottom of the 1st really turned my hope for this game, because I thought that given the struggles they had in the first 2, that once they fell down to the Reds again, I think this is a credit to Byron Buxton right now, it seems, for just carrying this team. But hey, for Cody Clemens too, to have not played very much because they've been facing so many lefties, and to be able to come in and do what they really need Cody Clemens to do, which is a weird thing to say, but they needed somebody to step up and get a big hit. And that was the moment for me in the series.
I just like that every time Cody Clemens hits a home run, he acts like he's an MLB All-Star.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It's amazing to me because a lot of times young guys will either be overly excited or they'll be overly unexcited or underexcited. I don't even know what phrase I want to use there. But Cody Clemens, Dan, every time he makes contact deep, you'd think he's Aaron Judge. You'd think he'd Shohei Ohtani. Like, just his response to what he's done is like, well, of course I hit a home run. And it's like, no, Cody, not of course. You're a journeyman guy who plays second base from time to time for the Twins, who either win 15 in a row or lose 15 in a row. You can't act like that and really be able to uphold that sort of gravitas that you've built yourself into.
But his dad is Roger Clemens. David.
Well, to be honest, I'm sure that factors in more than most people are willing to admit, Dan. I don't want to say that I'm a therapist.
I don't believe that man's ever been to medical school.
I'm just saying there's obviously some psychological issues at play here growing up the son of Roger Clemens.
That's got to be. Now, you have another moment later in this game.
Okay, fathers also. It's so nice that it was just Father's Day because so many of my qualms today have father issues related. But so, Game 3, top 6, Brooks Lee extends his MLB leading hitting streak to 18 games. I do sort of wish that the hits came in better spots, Dan, because Brooks Lee had some terrible at-bats in this series. Like, it's great that he's on this hitting streak, and I love it, but my goodness, it's like the at-bats are either fantastic, where he's working them deep in the count, or they're terrible, where he's swinging at just everything that comes anywhere near home plate. And my favorite thing about this is Lee knows when he's at a really bad at-bat. I think some players don't always recognize, like, when they've had a pretty bad showing at the plate, but Lee, you know from a very young age, he's had this beaten into him what an at-bat should look like. I have to say that's probably where the issues stem from, Dan. When after practice, when Lee's father's out there hitting grounders to him until midnight, when all the other kids went home. Who do you play for? LSU.
Cal Poly. That's who he played for. Cal Poly.
Okay, but so here's the thing. So I think when Lee goes back to the dugout, he still has this look of fear, Dan, as though he's going to be reprimanded and punished by his father for the poor at-bat. Like, look at that man's face. That's not a man who's disappointed in himself. That's a man who's disappointed in himself, and he knows a punishment is coming.
It's not worth winning if you can't win big, right? Isn't that the line from Mighty Ducks there? No, we're painting poor Coach Lee in a terrible light. Larry, I'm sorry, Larry. We don't know you. We don't know. You're probably a great dad and a great coach. You should
apologize to Ober's wife while you're at it, Dan. We're talking about her, too.
Mrs. Ober as well. I'm sorry. Oh,
Mrs.
man.
Ober. I hope you get the chance to meet her somehow and you call her Mrs. Ober. That will make me so happy, Dan.
I just don't know her. We're not on a first-name basis, David, the way I am with Larry, apparently. Would you classify his last at-bat, though? Because when he got I thought that was a good at-bat. He worked a full count.
Yes.
He went opposite field. He even stretched it into a double when he didn't have
Yes.
to. So, yeah, power to him there.
Yeah, okay, well, let's keep going here, Dan. Maurer's musings.
I just don't know how it can get any better.
Maurer's musings.
Dan, how many times have I said pitching wins championships?
I want to build championship culture.
1,000 times I've said that.
Exactly, yes.
I don't think I can say that anymore regarding the Twins' current
No,
staff.
you can. You can say that pitching wins championships, and they don't have pitching to win a championship.
That's what I'm saying. I can't say it anymore regarding the Twins' starting rotation. And so I think what makes it hard for me is that I've always sort of hung my hat on the idea that the Twins are going to make the postseason because their starting pitching has been so good and because their bullpen has been so good. I can't say that now, Dan. I don't really know what I'm asking here. I'm just saying I'm concerned if the pitching doesn't catch up or the hitting doesn't astronomically increase from where it has been. I'm getting very nervous that this team is going to be able to make the postseason with the way the starting pitching is performing.
I think what worries me a little bit is that they're playing teams that are about their caliber, at least in terms of the standings, and they're struggling, right? So, the Reds are another 500 team. Now, Terry Francona will have them in playoff shape before you know it, David. Rest assured. Because if one man knows how to manage in this world, it's Terry Francona. But I am a little worried about that. I don't know that they can weather it. At the same time, they're right there in the AL wildcard still with, a lot of games to play. So I'm not super concerned yet, but I am concerned in the sense that Paddack and Ober haven't been great, and they can really only rely on Joe Ryan. We'll see if David Festa can build on his last start, because he has been a whole lot better overall, I would say. But gosh, they really need Pablo back. And I think maybe we underestimated the importance of Pablo to just make his start every 5 days and know that you're going to probably get a quality start each time.
Yes. What do you have here, Dan, for your musing?
Well, so I thought this was funny. So after Game 2, the Twins dropped below 500 for the first time since early May, and it made me think of your sheet that you had made on the back to 500 plan that we had discarded after the Twins got back to 500 with a streak. You haven't even updated this, David, since mid-May.
No.
So I'm wondering, do we need to go back to that spreadsheet, and do we need to to revisit that here as they get back over 500 here? Or do you think that maybe the question I ultimately want to ask is, are they going to go over 500 again, or is this going to be a sub 500 team till the All-Star break?
I'm a little bit nervous, Dan. We go Brewers, Mariners, Tigers, who are apparently a real team now.
Real team, yeah.
Marlins, Rays, Cubs, Pirates. So you have a couple of teams in there that aren't great, but the Tigers are good. We struggled with the Mariners. The Brewers are good. The Cubs are good. I'm not really sure, Dan. I don't really know what's going to happen here. I think if they're above 500 by the All-Star break, and that opens the door for the team not to be sellers, but potentially buyers at the All-Star break, that'd be great. But I am having a hard time seeing the way forward here, Dan, where this team is above 500 at the All-Star break.
I think if they are above 500, that's a great sign, because you got to think that Royce Lewis should be coming back. And I know we teased that Royce hadn't played well, but he had played well in the week or two before the season, before he got hurt. And then you hope you get Pablo back maybe sometime in August if you're lucky. Maybe they get Zebby back by then too. But ultimately, I think they just have to hit better. I mean, they just, other people besides Byron Buxton and Carlos Correa, Brooks Lee, like, they need more out of Matt Wallner. They need probably even more out of Trevor Larnach. They need more out of Jeffers. They need more out of, like, they just need more from everybody here. That's why I think today was at least promising, because at least they showed that they could hit the baseball. Matt Wallner hit the ball over 100 miles an hour like 3 or 4 times in this game. So yeah, they need him especially to really get a whole lot better.
Absolutely. Well, with that, Dan, let's go ahead and grade the series.
Series grades.
So I'm going to give them a C. I think they had a chance in game 2 had that game been able to finish. And honestly, you're doing the best you can while the rotation is in the current state that it is. I'm okay with giving them a C here. A D, I could totally understand. I'm going to give them a C just because they didn't really get a chance to show what they could do in late innings in game 2.
Yeah, momentum, I'm going to give them a 0 on the pendulum scale because game 3 was super encouraging in that way. Decision making, I thought overall +1 there. The stars, Byron Buxton did enough there on his own really to stand out here, so I gave them a +2. The mids, I gave them a 0, kind of some of the reasons that I've talked about. But the youth, I gave them a +1 as well. And by the way, I have categories now. So the youth, to me, includes Lee, Festa, Wallner, Varland, Kersey, and Sands, who I think on the whole really played pretty well in this series. And then stars I'm categorizing as Buxton, Correa, Ryan, Lopez, Duran, and Castro. You add all that up, and that is a 19 out of 25 multiplied by 4. That's a 76 out of 100, which is a solid C as well. So we agree, David.
We do. Castro is a star?
Well, because he's an all-star. He was an all-star last year, and I feel like then
one time after like 8 guys got hit by buses
but
or something.
It justifies it, David. But you know what else is an all-star, David? Jimmy's coleslaw. Because it's coleslaw season, and if there's anything that's going to add some zip and zing to your summer spreads, it's Jimmy's coleslaw. Available in original, fat-free, and pineapple. Jimmy's is family fun and locally owned. It's delicious on burgers, brats, pulled pork, and is a summertime side. You can't go wrong with Jimmy's. Pick up a jar today. Jimmy's salad dressing and dips. Don't you be messing with my dressing.
I don't know, Jack. It looked like Herbeck pulled him off the bag.
Herbie's headlines.
Okay, we have so many things to talk about here, Dan. I am going to breeze through the ones that we don't really have to talk about too much. 2 quick Dodger notes. First of all, Ohtani pitched on Monday. He gave up an earned run and another hit, but he looked okay. So Ohtani was pitching. It's against the Padres, and that series is getting super chippy. So Tatis and Ohtani both got hit intentionally. Dan, I want these 2 teams to play each other in the NLCS more than just about anything.
Totally.
What a fun series that would be to watch. And then sort of in a related Dodger note here, the Lakers have been sold to the Dodgers owner Mark Walter for $10 billion, Dan.
Crazy. But, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. They're going to need that much money just to pay Ohtani over the years here as his money kind of gets prorated out. That's interesting, too, because you mentioned that the Rays actually are selling in baseball. This is $1.7 billion, which has got to be a good sign for the Pohlads. That's exactly the amount that we have heard is their asking price for the Twins.
I don't know that that's a good thing for the Pohlads because I think they assume that the Twins are a better, more profitable franchise than the Rays.
I mean, they have a better stadium situation. Obviously, they have a stadium that, well, it doesn't have a roof, but it's not supposed to have a roof right now, the Twin Stadium.
Well, it depends who you ask. Some people think it was supposed to have a roof.
True. I don't know, but I think it's good that there's at least a price out there that they can compare it to now. I don't know. Do you think, by the way, they're going to sell anytime soon?
I think that after the Rays sold for that amount of money, and I know how much debt they have, I think more and more it's looking like this team is going to be in the hands of the Pohlads for much longer than the fan base would prefer.
That's like a David Downer, like a wah, wah, wah.
Wah, wah, wah. We could probably get that sound.
We probably could.
Okay, 2 other quick notes here. Arkansas pitcher Gage Wood throws a no-hitter in the College World Series 19 Ks, Dan. The only thing that prevented him from having a perfect game is he hit a guy in the 8th inning.
Oof.
Which in the post-game interview is pretty funny. They're like, what do you think? How are you feeling? He's like, man, I wish I wouldn't have hit that guy. It's
yeah,
just the
exactly.
funniest response.
Oh, man, it's very honest of him, too. And then we didn't even get to talk about this on Sunday because it happened like right after we recorded. But Rafael Devers has gotten his wish. He's been traded to the Giants. Buster Posey seems like a pretty shrewd businessman here to get an all-star at this point of the season. You can read a lot of assessment of this trade to see where it stands. But I think this is a good deal for the Giants. It's a shame that Boston wasn't able to kind of work something out with Rafael Devers because, David, as you know, both you and I are big Red Sox fans here.
Absolutely. I do think it's interesting that Devers said he'd be just fine playing first base for the Giants.
Isn't that interesting? Huh.
It kind of shows that he's a bit of a crybaby. But then one note on here, Ryan O'Hearn, who's currently the all-star leader now for DH for the Orioles, he, in an interview, shouted out Craig Breslow, the president of baseball operations for the Red Sox, for making that trade. So now O'Hearn is likely to make the all-star game, which is kind of hilarious.
I love that. All right, we got to move on here to Puckett's picks for the Brewers series.
And we'll see you tomorrow night.
Puckett's Picks.
Well, the listeners are going to do what we should have done last series and take Buxton. Hogue is leaning in to take Correa, and that leaves you, David, making the next pick.
Yeah, I think I got to take Larnach here. I just think he's been a little bit streaky, but when he has a good series, Dan, he has a good series, and I think this series wasn't great for him, so it's a good bounce back for Larnach.
I'm going to go with the other left-handed outfielder. I'm going to go with Matt Wallner. I think his at-bats in this game and hitting the ball so hard, I think those are going to start landing, especially at home, especially in a stadium he knows well. I just think it's time.
Here's to hoping, Dan. It would be great if he could turn it on offensively. But with that, folks, we will be back on Sunday. And Dan, if you wouldn't mind sending this out.
Well, folks, if you like what you hear, please tell a friend. You can follow us on X at Min for the Win and find our Min for the Win Facebook and Instagram pages. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform so you're notified when new episodes are available. And if you leave us a rating or a like, we'd greatly appreciate it. If you'd like to support the show further, you can find us on Patreon. The link is in the description. Thanks for listening. And as always, go Twins.
That'll wrap up another episode of Min for the Win, a podcast hosted by David Kufis and Dan Thompson, two avid fans who appreciate well-played baseball, especially when it's done by the Twins. Thanks so much for listening, and as always, go Twins.